What up? What up? What up? It's your man Sean P coming in live. This is Sean P Experience on YouTube, man. Today it's a very special episode, man. All my guests are special, but this book in particular really struck my heart because I've been curious about the women of the six triple eight ever since Tyler Perry movie a couple years ago, Kerry Washington, ever since a couple other things came out. So whenever I saw this book cover, I'm like, man, I got to get this sister on my show. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Show the baby, show the baby. Right. Let me give you an official introduction. Right. So, family, today we are welcome to have a storyteller who resurrects brilliance. Tonya Abari to the legacy of the six triple eight. Those black women who carried mail and they carried the wall and placed the light in the right hands of our children. This is history as healing. This is memory as inheritance. Time, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for the warm introduction. That was fantastic.
So you are on a run right now. You are on the book tour. You literally just left a podcast. First of all, could you please, if you don't mind, plug that podcast? We love to plug other people. We ain't got no hate over here. So you just finished doing the pod. But the question is, from having the book and the creation phase and all that for some years, I understand. And now you're finally on the road. I mean, you're talking, you're getting it out there. How does it feel to birth the baby?
It feels good. I mean, this has been a long time coming. I'm a little tired because, like I told you, I've been running my mouth for like a month, and a lot of writers are. Well, I consider myself an introverted extrovert, so I'm extroverted when I'm around good energy, but a lot of times this kind of stuff wears me out. But I am so excited and so happy to have been for the past month doing Instagram lives, showing up at bookstores and taking this story for young readers and talking about it and trying to get to the hands of children, to the hands of librarians, teachers, educators everywhere. And so I've been really excited and really grateful actually to have the opportunity to do that, because this book, it took about 5 years for it to be published. So
I know you kind of like just starting, the plane just taking off, but any feedback yet, like from educators, like from parents, maybe even a child themselves, like any feedback?
yes. So I've gotten feedback from a few parents actually that because I'm running an activation alongside the book, and I'll just tell you a little bit about it. We might get to talk about it later, but I'm doing a campaign, 10,000 letters for the 6888. And so the stamp team, the 6888 stamp team, which is supported and ran by a veteran Army vet, Miss Elizabeth Helm Frazier out of DC, Washington, DC area. She's trying to get the 6888 a forever stamp with the United States Postal Service. Their application was not approved last year, but they're going after it again. And so they're collecting signatures. And also, my part and my work in this is that I'm trying to, with this book for young readers, get our young folks to write letters. And so my goal is to have 10,000 letters from across the country, from families, households, students, caregivers, educators, all the folks, to write into the United States Postal Service to let them know that, yes, these women had made an incredible contribution to our history and that they deserve a stamp. So that's been my favorite part, is advocating to continue the storytelling and to make sure that their legacy is forever cemented in United States and a world history as well. So
Now, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, I love to ask my authors this question that's on the tour and everything. Is there anything you haven't been able to mention on these previous shows that you would like to mention? Like, man, what I haven't been able to talk about, or what I haven't hit on yet? Anything like that?
I said a lot. I've said a lot, and that's one thing I'm actually proud of, because I've throughout this process, I've legit found like 50 ways to talk about my work and to talk about the book. And I think that's important for authors, is that, and I'm learning, I'm building the plane as I'm flying it. And so I've been able to really discuss this book and discuss this project in so many different ways. And so, but one thing that I haven't talked about yet that we can kind of talk about is um, I really feel like the picture book, like having it in this format, is different from any other medium because it allows for close read of the history. And what I mean by close read, if there are any educators on the call or listening, they know what I'm talking about when I say close reading. Close reading means that you are reading and rereading the text for different understandings, for connections, for ways that you can find more meaning in the text. And I think that doing it, having a picture book that's only less than 1,000 words, it presents that opportunity for young folks, even adults, because I've gotten good feedback from adults who've just read this and it's like, yes, I like the comprehensive overview of what's going on, and it gives me a chance to explain and make connections, make predictions with my children or by myself. And doing it as adult, I really enjoy working with picture books. And so that's why as an author I enjoy writing picture books, because I feel like it's such an important way that you can do a close reading of a particular piece of history or a particular story and really get to the bottom of or analyze the story in so many different ways. So yeah, that's one thing I haven't really talked about.
No,
But
I mean, I want to speak on the education aspect in a little bit, and I want to speak on like the nation and the literacy rate or lack thereof these days in a little bit. But I'm glad you said even myself as an adult, I love to get graphic novels. I love to get young adult novels. Like I read those things a lot for myself beyond the children because, like you're saying, man, just to get that deeper understanding on some of these topics. I love doing those things first, and then I'll go and get the 500-page novel or whatever it is after that. But I totally can relate to that. So
yes.
yeah. So let's go to the beginning, right? Tell me about when you first learned about the women of the 6th AAA Battalion, and like when did you know, like, you know what? This could be a book concept. When did you know that?
Yes. Okay. So it was around 2018. My daughter was 3 years old at the time. And we would watch Sunday morning, CBS Sunday morning news. Oh, CBS. Ugh. But we would watch the morning news on Sundays. And so we were watching, and they did a profile on the ceremony at Fort Leavenworth, where the statue was dedicated to the 6 888, and they have 5 former members of the 6 888 receive their honors at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And so I saw the story, and I was, of course, like we talked about before, like I'm military adjacent. I'm not a veteran. I did not serve, but having many family members who served in multiple branches of the United States military, I thought, well, this is a piece of history that is super important and it's gone under the radar. I mean, I consider myself to be a lover of history, and I never learned about the 6 888 in high school, undergrad, even graduate school. So, at this time, I'm like, okay, I have a 3-year-old, and I want to make sure that she has books that she can grow with, that she can learn about our history as Black women. So I searched high and low. I searched high and low. I was looking, and I couldn't find one book about the 6 888 for our youngest readers. And so I literally also, had a dream like a month later after I saw it. And in the dream, I was standing in a line next to this monument that I saw on TV, and I was holding a stack of books in my hand, and there were little people lined up to talk to me about the book. And so I was just like, okay, I think the ancestors are saying something like, and Queen Mother Tony has always said, if there's a book that you want to write and it hasn't been written, then it's your responsibility to go ahead and go after and go write that book. So, of course, at that time, I was just starting to learn about publishing and like how to even, write a book or get a book acquired. And so I was in a program where I was doing 12 manuscripts in 12 months, 12 picture book manuscripts. And so I wrote, that was the second time I had done the program, but I wrote the draft of the manuscript then in 2019, during that program, after I saw the morning show and had the dream that I was like, okay, I need to move on this. So
Let's speak about the erasure of Black women, right? On this podcast, this past year alone, I've covered so many amazing Black women in history that are like the unsung heroes, right? And again, like the hidden figure women, didn't know about that until the movie came out. I covered a book recently about the Black women in New York that helped to cure tuberculosis, like 1940, something like that. Never heard about that before that book or since that book. So, why do you think we have this erasure of amazing Black women in history? Why do you think that is?
I think, a huge part of that, of course, not I think, I know a huge part of that is just, like our story's not in the within the context or framing of publishing, or depending, the business of publishing. Our story's not being prioritized, and also encouraged to take front and center, to take the main stage. We, of course, within our communities, and oral storytelling, of course, has helped us to maintain our stories forever, for generations and generations, and we are the main characters in our stories, hands down, 10 toes down. But when you look at the broader context of publishing and the industry as a whole, it's just that those stories and these stories have just not been prioritized. I can speak from an author's perspective of trying to, and even specifically with this book, even after the book had, I mean, the story had been reported on. There was reporting. There was a PBS documentary on the 688. There were fictional novels that were written about the 688. Major Charity Adams Early had an autobiography that was already published. And when I went to try to submit this for young readers, I was told by some folks that, hey, we don't know enough about the story, or, we don't feel like it's important enough to actually be in a book. Why would young people need to read this? So that's some of the things that I heard on the journey along the way, which can be really frustrating. But if you look at it and see the broader context of just the business of publishing and our place in it, I think that kind of answers the question about why some of these stories are undertold and untold. It's the system, and it's not meant to be. But we got to keep fighting. That's why we keep fighting to tell our stories. So
I know things take time to come out to Pub Day, right?
mhm.
So the Tyler Perry movie that we all know that came out, Netflix, big deal. Were you already in motion like prior to that coming out, or was that like in the middle of the process whenever that movie came out?
It was already in motion. This book was actually on like submission back in 2021. And so it was acquired by the publisher in 2021. And so that's when the process started. The book, my manuscript was written in 2019. And so it kind of happened alongside that. This was not a project that stemmed from the movie or vice versa. It was kind of just two separate things happening at a different time. That's the beauty of, writing in different mediums and having, a picture book version, and also like a movie. It's two separate projects, but they're both told in a different vantage point and
Yes.
both different
Yeah.
reasons, So I loved the Tyler Perry movie, and I
Yeah.
loved how the focus was on Miss Lena Darracott. But the picture book right here is a very, it's a broad overview. It's
Yeah.
meant for young children to just
Yeah.
understand like the
Mhm.
actual event that happened in history. So,
Yeah.
yep.
And I only ask that because like the movie Sinners for a good example, right? Like the authors I know that was writing about hoodoo and other aspects of Black life that time. Whenever that movie came out, I know it put a lot of traction on their projects that wasn't even planned for. Like, wow, this is great that it came out. So I was wondering the pushback you was getting. did the movie coming out help you kind of get over some of those humps, that you had before,
That the answer is no, because by
Okay.
that time, the editor who acquired, excuse me, the editor who acquired this picture book is a black woman, and she knew, right away that she would champion this book. And I'm very appreciative of her, because sometimes, man, I got black women. That's all I can say. I don't even have the words to articulate. But
I love it. I love it.
yeah, so this editor was the one who, it, despite getting rejections from lots of other editors, this editor was like, you know what, like, I'm championing this story, I really love it, and I think we need to move forward with that. So that had already happened before the movie was well into production and had come out.
So you mentioned having a 3-year-old daughter, you're having these thoughts and these ideas. My question is, as a children's book author specifically, was there an advantage of being a parent of a small child as you're going into making this project? 'Cause I've never been the folks that want to write children's books, but it's like, not saying you can't do it if you don't have a child yourself, but the perspective way different if you're not actually dealing with little people on a regular basis and seeing how they think and what they attract to. So was that an advantage for you?
Yes, and I believe that, I've always loved children. I'm a former educator. I was in the classroom. I only lasted 4 years. 4 years in the classroom. No.
Hey, thanks for your service. Thanks for your service.
Yes. So I was a teacher. I taught high school, and I've taught all grades because I've worked in daycare. So I've been working in education since I was like 18. So I have always
Wow.
been
Mhm.
around. I'm a Cancerian, y'all. I'm a double Cancerian, so I love the little people. And so, I've found that, but having my own child was just like a super duper catalyst for me writing children's books, because I had always, wanted to, and I write for adults too as an independent journalist. And also, I write adult books. They are not out yet. They'll be out in years. They take much longer. But
I can't wait. I can't wait.
hey,
And come
um,
back to the pie too. Come back to the pie.
I'm coming back. And so, my just, seeing my daughter, and it's so refreshing now, because like I look at my daughter's bookshelf, and she got way better books than I did, when I was her age. And I'm telling her, I'm like, yeah, you got it good right now. And so we got to keep it that way. But her just being a catalyst of me saying, you know what, like, this is what I want for her. Like, I want her to be able to see herself in a book. I want her to be able to learn her history. And, the first person that is responsible for that is me. So I might as well, go for all of it. And then I want her to see me, writing, getting rejections, getting books published, having wins, having losses. All of these things are going to build the person that she is as well. So my children, my daughters, are definitely, reasons for me writing children's books. And I have built-in beta readers, because I go to them all the time, and they'll be like, and they still do that. I may not be their favorite author right now. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm probably not. But the joy that I get when I see in their face when they go pick a book off the bookshelf, and they're like, okay, I want to read mommy's book today. Or mom, are you working on anything? Like, you want to run anything by me? My 11-year-old, of course. The 4-year-old is, she had no limit. She don't care.
No
But
limit.
yes, like I write like because of them. And I think that experience of, just having them on my lap and reading and finding out what makes them tick, seeing what makes them laugh, seeing what makes them, interested, and seeing how curious they are, has been like really, really, really inspiring for me along my author journey.
I was telling some friends last week. I spoke at a middle school last week, and I was like, "You get no better feedback than from children, because you're gonna know instantly if they like rocking with it, they love it, or you
Yeah.
gonna know if it's not up to par. They're gonna let you know. Adults always kind of like, oh, it's pretty good, but like children, you gonna know.
And like, no, I'm bored. Or you can tell they fidgeting, their interest is not. And I'm like, okay, because even like with my drafts, like, I'll be reading it and I'll be like, okay, this one's too long. Like the little one is not her, she's all over the place. And granted, they're gonna do that anyway. But it helps me too to kind of tinker around and see, and I ask all their friends. I ask my 11-year-old, I say, hey, can your friends come over, do a beta read with us for the book? I'll be reading all the kids in the neighborhood.
I'm gonna tell you right now, man. My daughter is 18 years old, and you were so gracious to give my daughter a signed copy. She's in college right now, Southern University, right? HBCU. When she
Congrats.
came home and she saw the book, she was excited. And again, to see your own self in the way we couldn't when we were kids at that age, like to see yourself on the page and the beautiful images and the wonderful everything is just so well done. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. And shout out to the illustrator, Lance Evans, who really, really brought these words to life with beautiful, remarkable illustrations. I'm just so happy that I had a chance to work with Lance on this project. Very talented artist. So definitely keep an eye out for his work. He's doing the thing.
Let me ask you a question. In the middle of your research process and everything, was there a particular woman in the battalion that like took your attention, took your heart? Like, man, this sister right here, I really, really feel that. Was there a particular one?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say that, gosh, because there were a few. Number one, I slightly mentioned I couldn't put all of the historical context in there about Mary McLeod Bethune, but I am, always forever in awe of the work that she's done in advocacy and in education as well. And so, as a former educator, I guess I'm gonna stop saying former educator, because once an educator, always an educator.
Yes, yes. And you're writing these books for the baby. You still educated.
Yes, yes. And so just, seeing how she's involved in so many different, historical moments and at once, and being able to highlight that some in this book really made me proud. And then, of course, I really am just in awe of Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams Early, with all of the major breakthroughs that she had as a leader in the United States Army, and the way that she led the battalion and created just a sense of camaraderie and um, sisterhood amongst all 855 women in the 6888, is just something that, as a leader, and I think we can all look to that, like right now, even this point in history today. How do we bring together our folks? How do we, get in community with each other and support each other? We may be doing something hard, we may be doing something that's incredibly difficult. How do you lead a group of women to a finish point? And so I really, again, am over inspired by her story. But all of the women, like, and I can even say the women that were not, um, what I really appreciate are the women who weren't at the forefront of the movie, or the women who were not mentioned at the medal ceremony, but the women whose names we don't know. Um, like in the book, I'm so happy, and this was also in the movie, I believe, but all 855 women's names are written in the book in the end
That's
pages.
amazing. That's amazing. I love that. I love that.
Because it's impossible to highlight all of their stories in one particular piece, but just having their names there and being able to say their names, and really like thank them, and honor them by saying their names, it was just really, really important to me. And one other thing that I found, I think it was, I can't, okay, so there was a woman in the 6888 who, after, I think it was Raglan, I'm not sure, but after she retired, she had always wanted to drive and be a flight and learn how to fly a plane. And so, like decades after she came back, She had, went to work and done her thing. And then, decades later, like in her 70s, she finally took the flight of her dreams. And so,
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I put that in the back matter. It didn't make it to the main text, but that was also inspiring too. Like, these women just showed up. They didn't know they were making history, and they came back, and then they just went and lived their lives. And they just continue to do their thing, but maybe being recognized, or maybe the story picking up steam, or finally being celebrated was like the cause for her to like, okay, well, I'm gonna celebrate myself, and I'm gonna learn how to fly and do something that I've always wanted to do and never had a chance to do. So
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to dig a little bit more into Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams, right? Because
mhm.
when the movie was actually playing about a year or so ago, I'm sitting on side of my mom watching the movie, and I'm the kind of person like mid movie, I'm gonna start researching doing the movie. I started googling her and like finding out just how many things she had accomplished even before the whole six triple eight. Like she was already highly accomplished, decorated, and to see her get talked to like that and treated like that, and all the things that was happening, like it was just unreal to see how much she had done, prior to six triple eight. Speak about her a little bit more if you can.
Yeah, like she was born in North Carolina. And she was, before, she was the highest ranking African American woman in the army by the time that the war was over. But you're right, she was educated in the South, and she grew up, I think, father being a pastor, or she grew up in the church. And I can't remember the name of the church that she grew up in or under, but she went to school, and she was a math and a physics major, I believe. So she had a background, which is like, I'm an English major, so I love my math folks, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
creativity in
yeah,
so much creativity
yeah.
in math
Yeah.
and STEM.
Not my strong suit.
Yeah, yes. But you know what? I think you had, okay, I won't go there.
Nah, go there, go there. What you got? What you got?
No, because I'm not sure if you interviewed brother Akil
I
Parker.
did. I did.
Oh,
I
okay.
did. All that math. All that math.
Yes. And
My brother.
Akil and I grew up in Baltimore together together. So we went to
Really?
middle
Wow.
school and all of that. He went to the other high school. He went to Poly. But I'm always in awe of like his conversations about math, because I think about like when I was younger and my unhealthy relationship that I had to math,
Yeah. Yeah.
because folks would just say, "Oh, you're just not good at math." Like, and
Yeah.
I'm, now that I'm reading all about, these incredible women and major charity, Adams Early being one
Yeah.
of them, who were
Yeah.
just trailblazers in math
Come
and
on.
physics. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could have did that.
Look at
Like,
the hidden figures, man. The hidden figures, just all of the human computers. They
yes, yes,
literally called them computers as a person. That's crazy.
yes, yes. So, I think that, just all of her accomplishments before she even got there, that speaks like volumes, like you said, about in Black women in general. Like, I know I've experienced, I've experienced moments where, I have done XYZ, and I'm still being asked like about my credentials, or I'm still being asked if I have the chops to, present research, or if I have the chops to do this. And I'm like, here I am sitting here with 5 billion degrees, and well-rounded, and can do lots of things. And I'm being told that, I can't do such and such. So all of her work, all of her life leading up to that moment, I think really helped her to take control of that moment, and to lead the women in a way that they needed to be led, and to also to instill and have that dignity there, where these people were disrespecting them. They were facing discrimination, in the army while they were there, and then back home. So, you know for all of her experience leading up to that, was like, look, I've done all these things, and I've had to face this, but we're not going to let this break us. We still have a job to do. So,
Yes, ma'am. You mentioned the research, right? I love asking my authors about the research process. And with it being a children's book, a person might make the mistake and assume, like, oh man, like it's easy peasy. What was your research process like for AAA, and how difficult was it to like find things?
Yes. Okay. So I'm a if anyone out here, listening is into all of this, I'm a life path 7. So my I love exploring. I love going down rabbit holes, and I really, you know, enjoy uncovering things. And I've always been this way. I've been this way since I was younger. I just really like to learn new things. And I may get on something and then be like, okay, I don't want to learn about this anymore, and then move on to something else. But
I
I
might
just
be one too. Then I might be one too.
check your numbers, check your numbers. And so I just really, there's something satisfying about just knowledge seeking. And so even with picture books, like you still have to do the research, because everything, even the illustrations, comes down to making sure that the history is correct. And the thing though that is the thing that is and that I want to say about researching for picture books, you can write biographies that are unauthorized, where you're not, working directly with someone who experienced a part of the historical event that you're speaking of. That happens all the time for picture books, because usually picture books are like a general overview of a specific event or a subject, so it doesn't go into deep detail of any one specific person that's related to the event. However, as a journalist or someone who is investigating any kind of information, you want to make sure that you have bases covered. And so, a part of researching is just not, now there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there, especially on the internet. I grew up with Dewey Decimal System, so I'm not dependent on, just Googling. That's not,
Good old encyclopedia, good old Webster.
yes, yes. And I'm, looking for, books, and I'm going through archives. I'm going to, the National Archives. I'm going to my state archives to try to get pictures or newspaper clippings from the years that were surrounding this event, to see like how many different ways I can research. And at a certain point though, like especially with picture books, it's like you got to cut it off. You're like, okay, I've done enough research for the body of this work, and I've been researching for a year, 2, 3 years, but I'm gonna cut it off right here, because this is only 1,000 words and this research is taking me out. So, so I would say that it was like a year of, hardcore research, but then also throughout the entire process, throughout the entire 5 years, there was also research that happens in between that. So I don't have a quantitative number for you in terms of like how long, but I consider myself to be a very thorough researcher. And then also I have a card right here that I just received in the mail from one of the members of the 6888. Their daughter sent me a card.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
yes, I this was like,
How did
for
that how did that how did that feel?
it just, I mean, it felt, and I can't, I can't share what she said in the card, but it just felt like, for me, like a defining moment, because I will, be honest and candid that every other week I go through this thing where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. The business of publishing is just really, really, it's really tough. It can be really discouraging, in terms of like getting support for your book, making sure it gets into the hands of the right readers. But like, I get messages from the universe, and this is a message like, keep going, you know, to have a daughter of one of the members of the 6888 reach out to me and say that they appreciate the project and that they love the project and that it was written really well and illustrated really well, for me, that is like, icing on the cake. Like, this is why you do it. Like, you're not, doing it for all the other superficial reasons. You're doing it because, you've been called to do so, number one. And number two, you're helping to make sure you're helping, because this is not, the only thing that exists, but you're helping to make sure this story and this event stays alive.
Yes,
And that's
ma'am.
me than anything.
Yes, ma'am. For sure, for sure. Love my active chat, man. My brother's in the building. How you doing out there, Mr. Ladarius? Always has incredible questions every podcast. He asks, how did you spiritually connect with the research or the book and the book?
Yes. Okay. So, um, it- I guess I can, let me. I'll be candid. I'll be transparent.
Yeah, go with it. Go with it. The
Like,
show
I
up here is serious. Go with it, man.
don't.
Go with it.
Yes, and so, talking to the ancestors, making sure that um, I celebrate those who, because without this event, without them showing up to work and showing up to move these 17 million pieces of mail, none of these, stories, none of these experiences would be possible. And so, just along the way, making sure that, I am talking to the ancestors, honoring them, praying over their stories, praying over their names, keeping their names in asking for guidance along the way of, which things should I include, which things should I not include, speaking with editors and like revising the book, making sure some things stay and some things go. Like, I will just say that there was a piece in the book at the very beginning where I called the names of the women who were honored at both of the ceremonies combined. That's where the names at the beginning of the book came in. And that was one of the things that we discussed, like, do we keep this there or do we take it out? And I decided that, like, spiritually, that was a way for me to continue to honor and celebrate these women. And I
Yeah.
actually put it in the book as a prayer, so I put their names at the beginning of the book. And, it forces the reader to say their names and to honor them as they're reading the book. And so, um, these are some of the things that I just, ask the ancestors to guide me on as I'm working on these materials. And also, like, I'm very intuitive writer, and also an intuitive creative, making sure I'm moving in a way that's true to myself and true to the mission at hand, which is to keep, these stories alive. I had reached out to connect to some of the people who were major pieces in working with the movie and also the PBS documentary. And I had a hard time because, I'd be reaching out to people and people are like, I don't know who you are. I'm not sure who you are and, why you're doing a book. But
Welcome to
I,
my world. Who the
right,
world is on? Who are you?
like, what? Like, okay. So, I know a lot of folks, ducked my emails because of that, but I was very, I'm very grateful that there was one who answered my email. And this was Miss Elizabeth Helm Fraser. And she has been working for decades, working to amplify the story of the 6888. So I just always know that, like, spiritually, intuitively, I know the right people will come along. I meet who I'm supposed to meet, and the books will land in the hands of the readers that it's supposed to land into. So
Thank you. Thank you. I want to
yes.
ask you a question. Let's slow it down for one beat, right? For anybody that's young watching the podcast in the future, whenever, tell us about, at that time, the importance of a letter, the importance of the mail at that time. No Wi-Fi, no technology, no FaceTiming, DMs, none of that, right? And I want to say this too, as a military veteran, 25 years ago, being overseas for 6, 7 months at a time, and
Mhm.
communication being a real strain, even 25 years ago. When it was finally mail call, that was a major moment on the ship. When the mail came and it was mail call, and you got a letter in the mail, or the lack thereof, the impact of that. I personally experienced that. So
Yes.
speak about that to the viewership, please. The importance of what they were doing.
Yes. And again, thank you for your service to the United States Navy. We thank you. And
Go
you're right.
Navy.
And like I really don't think, and that's what they didn't realize then, the people who had short expectations of this battalion, but not realizing how important it is to have communication. You're in a far off place, like you're saying, you're in a far off, and you're doing something that may shrink your morale. You're not sure why you're doing it. You may have feelings behind it, but having a letter, like words that are handwritten, and you got a letter.
You just lay in the bed with that over and over the same one, just reading it, looking at it, smelling it, literally smelling it, touching
Yes.
it. You just like it's so visceral for real, you know?
Yes. And I've never, I've experienced mail in the way where, I was the queen letter writer. Like I would get in class, I would be writing letters. Like my English teacher would be like, Tonya, what you doing? I'm writing somebody a letter. So, I've always written letters. I've had pen pals since I was younger. I've had friends who, served in the military, served time in lockdown, that I've written back and forth to. I know the power of a letter. I was a first generation college graduate, and I went to, when my freshman year, when I was in the dorm, everybody was receiving like care packages, right? For freshman year. And so, my people, they didn't know that, that was a thing. So, but I was like, man, ain't nobody gonna give me a care package. Like I was sad.
Y'all done forgot about your boy. Y'all done forgot when I was down. All right, I see how it is.
Yes, I was like, oh my gosh, oh, you mean to tell me I'm not gonna get no care back? But I saw the way, everybody else's eyes, they lit up, when they got their care packages, their candy, from their family, like do good on your exams, have a good, semester. And I saw like how important that was. And you're right. Like when you receive a letter, you see it's not just the letter, it's the person's sentiment behind it, that they took their time. It takes a long time to write a letter. It, for me it does anyway. I can sit there for 2 hours and write, like a couple paragraphs, but I'm pouring in myself, my feelings, and I'm articulating all of that on a page. And that's like a very sentimental thing. Like, you mean to tell me you took the time out your day to write me a letter and make me feel good while I'm over here, in battle, and I'm doing this thing? Like, you care about me. And so that was, I think that was like overlooked, like how important that is. And we know, like, historically, once they started receiving the mail and they started hearing from their family members, and family members were now knowing that they were still okay, that was like a turning point in the war too, as well. Because now, okay, we're good now, let's get in and get this done. We're good. We heard from my
the,
family.
the, the, the morale. The morale is
Yes.
well, you got to think. I was in the military like right before 9/11. So like I was in there when 9/11 happened,
Right.
right? Again, people don't know what's going to happen with you. Are we going to war? What's happening? What's the next thing that happens? They don't know. And
Yes.
there's a communication gap. So imagine getting the letter X amount of weeks later, somebody already died, hypothetically. Or I just got into a car accident, blah, blah, blah. But you get a letter a month later. If you're overseas, you get a letter, it's already happened. And
Right.
they've already dealt with whatever there's to be done, they've already done it. And now you finally writing back, oh, I'm sorry about the accident. It's already, life is going. So it's
Yeah.
really like being in jail for real back then. I don't know how it is now, but back then it was like this huge gulf between you and your loved ones, man. And that the letter writing was incredible.
Yes, and I remember when my brother served, and he served he was in Afghanistan, and we, we did a care package and we got letters. My brother's my brother though, so I don't he didn't say whether it mattered, but I think it did. I think it did. But just being able to, and for us it mattered too. Like it mattered on the other end, of saying, okay, we worried about you. It ain't no phones over there. You can't just pick up your cell phone in the middle of, what they doing. And for us, hey, we getting that letter like, hey, I got the care package. I received it. Thank you so much. Like for us, it was like, okay.
Let me tell you this. 25 years ago, overseas, right? You get a little phone call. It might cost $25, whatever. You only get about 8 minutes of talk time. You want to say so much in the 8-minute clip, and there's a huge delay in the conversation.
Yeah.
So it might really be 4 minutes of, but just that contact, just that touch could change your whole month. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, like.
Yes.
I want to put the energy on how important that was on the podcast to make folks realize that it's taken for granted now. Oh, maybe we do email real quick. I'm gonna just inbox somebody, but like,
right.
How it was at that time was just incredibly important.
But that's something that too, like that I thought about, when writing this book, is that that's something that we should get back to, like put these phones down, write somebody a letter, and mail it, like send, even if it's a postcard, like one paragraph. It's I now think it's like time to, get back to analog, and with, especially with all the stuff that's happening, with these billionaires and trying to get us all, I guess zombie to the computer. We can really put that stuff down and like write letters to each other. And
okay.
So I'm hoping to accomplish that.
So now we go to that part of the podcast, right? Your education background. Let's talk about, I don't know what it is now, but I know for a long period of time, the school stopped teaching cursive writing. They're probably not learning how to write a letter, how to properly even address a letter, where your name go, where the address go, what order it goes, and where the stamp goes. Like, talk about the importance of bringing that back to the forefront.
It's just, that because we are on grid right now, like with all of this technology. You never know when something can happen and we'll be off grid. So, I think those skills are super important to have, and it's always like a just in case. Why would you depend on anything? Why would you depend on it so much where you just lose the ability to, think critically and do things, without that? I think that the reason why it's so important is to learn and to be able to have these skills if they're needed, but also there is like emotional intelligence that comes with, writing letters. It is, you're building up your critical thinking skills by writing things out by hand. They say that, you memorize things and you learn things more when you write it out. So you're learning about yourself, you're learning about the other person, you're learning about whatever you're writing about even more because you're taking the time to write it. And so, I feel there was a brother that had a question on here. Also, did you get the question? Because it went off.
Yes, man. I mean, I kind of put a little note on. I know you were talking, so I didn't want to stop you, but I do have the question. I have it.
Okay, because I think it was related, so I don't want to make sure I didn't skip over it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what skills are associated with the history that can help us solve our current problems? Woo! We might need the aliens help for this for the current.
Yeah.
No, but just in general, like there's such a blueprint of showing up for yourself, showing up for community to get a job done. That's embedded in just this one story. So we see, the women of the 6888, they're sent over to this hangar. There's no heat in the hangar. There's no place that's like, for them to make a bed. They have to make their own home out of this dark, cold, and lonely place. And so showing up to make community for yourself, to make your space livable, habitable, and to function in a way that you are accomplishing something for yourself and for the greater good, I think is such a general skill that is timeless and is universal. So take what these women did, and you can like
Yeah,
literally apply this to any other like piece of history, or and see how you can overcome, because this is about overcoming, right? The entire book is about empowerment and
yeah,
overcoming.
yes,
um and so you can literally, use those skills that they had, like right now, like go out into your community, talk to people, write them letters, make them feel good. It's a lot of people right now that are not feeling good. It's a lot of laid off folks. We are, 42 million people, food insecurity right now. You have the ability, just like the women of the 6888 had the ability, you have the ability to show up and say, I'm going to do one thing. And it may seem small, it may seem insignificant on the surface, but that one thing could have a ripple effect, and it could positively influence one person, build their spirit up so that they are helping somebody else and building up the next person's spirit as well. So I think
man,
that's the major key takeaway, from this book, from any book,
yeah,
that you read. See how what small thing has been done to
yeah.
really impact people in a big way, and then you just go do it.
I wanna put some more respect on the 6888, man. You were breaking down how it was for the environment. There was no actual system that they went into. They had to literally create a system of how we're gonna go about sorting these millions of pieces of mail, and then be able to see something and decipher, like, wait, he put a certain sign or symbol on this. This means this, and this means that. And having to decode and decipher, like, they were just that brilliant to figure that out and make an actual system to be used. Like, that's an incredible story, man. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
just again, shout out to, we're making this connection between Major Charity Adams Early and her prior background. Like, I'm sure that her background in math and physics, helped, because she had already had
Probably
the
seeing a pattern
yeah.
recognition, kind of.
Yes, absolutely. And so, a lot of, they were brilliant in that way, that, they were able to mathematically decide, okay, look, we need to try these patterns, and we need to figure out this, equation to be able to get this number of pieces of mail out in this amount of time. And so, yeah, that those skills of math, they come in handy. I always, when I was younger, I'd be like, when am I going to use this math? Like, what am I going to use this math in my real life? Like, this is an example of how you use math
You
in a
never know.
key
You never
situation.
know.
Never know.
You never know. We'll talk about letter writing a little bit. I'm gonna go a little bit more on the lighthearted side, but it's still important, right?
Yeah.
I know back in high school, junior high, I was a lover boy kind of person or whatever. The amount of letters I was writing back then, I didn't realize it in that time because that's the culture of what life was. But like thinking back on me being a writer now, and the person might say, "Man, when you started writing," I never think about how many letters I wrote in high school, in the military, how many short stories I was writing at that time, just not even thinking about being an author. I'm just communicating with my loved one. I'm thinking, but like I'm really practicing making a story, making the scene and the setting and world building and character development, all these things. I'm just doing it like playfully, but I'm cultivating the thing that I didn't realize I would have 25, 30 years later, being an author right now, So
Yes, yes. Same here too. I feel bad for the people that was on the other end of them letters sometimes, because I know they got sick of me writing letters. They would be like, "Go." I I remember
no,
this cat. I was
come
writing
on, man.
letters, and they was like, "You can't. You got to stop with these letters." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's how you're not the right person for me, because you don't like my
Yeah,
letters." Bye.
yes. And think about this, right? Back at that time, we talk about 80s, 90s, anybody watch it? Well, for me, 80s, 90s. I don't want to date anybody, right? But like you would have a whole thing before the letter even start. Like this
Yep.
time, I'm in third period, I'm in math class, I'm thinking about Key Sweat, whatever, whatever. I'm thinking about this and Bob, all this stuff before the letter even start. Like it was the
Yeah.
whole thing, man.
And we would play, what's that, Mesh? Um, mansion, apartment, house, street. We would play that Mesh game, and like I would
Yes.
play the Mesh and then write a letter after the Mesh, and then
But see, it's a funny conversation, but like my job, most of my staff is in their early 20s. We talking about various private things or whatever. I'm realizing how much they can't communicate. They have all this technology, but they can't really socialize. Some people use Chat GPT to holler at somebody. You can't just express what you feel about this person. You got to go to technology to express you have an interest in this person. Where are we going?
I
What
yeah,
are we doing?
I don't understand, and that's why it's important that, and I feel like, I tell, my kids, because sometimes my oldest daughter, she feels like she's an anomaly sometimes, because she'd be like, "Ma, it's none of the kids, like all the kids got cell phones," and I'd be like, "I don't care. You gonna be in here writing letters. We gonna do it this way." And and I know she'll thank me later, but yeah, like just teaching the kids like how to communicate again, like how to communicate. So, and it's so much better for their mental health, being able to communicate with each other, and all of those things. Like, and that, like you said, like critical thinking is on the decline. We need to bring that back up.
Come on, man. Speak about this important topic once again and highlight it about the 10,000 letters, right? So my
Mhm.
brother in the chat, Ladarius, and I, and Dr. Wade, just yesterday spoke about writing to political prisoners and the importance of that. And we're gonna have a whole thing. Like, the three of us, we're trying to get something together, but like you right on time with the letter writing and everything. Talk about the importance of that particular project.
Yeah. Oh, so the 10,000 letters for 688. Yes. Okay. So, what we really want to do, because the one of the conditions for reapplying to the Citizens Stamp Advisory, one of the conditions was that, okay, in order for this to be approved, we need to see that there is interest in their story, heavy interest in them, have their story and their contribution to United States history, for them to, receive a forever stamp. Of course, for us, it's a no brainer. Like, okay, do you know what they did? Like, it should be like, okay, approved. But, writing 10,000 letters is a powerful, powerful way to say, it's activism, because it is, you're writing to say, we believe that this event in history is worthy of being celebrated forever. And these are the reasons why. And we're going to write to you and show you in the way that they showed up for the mail for these soldiers back during World War II. So we are showing you through activism, and we're showing you through a creative medium that they themselves used to boost morale. And so that's kind of like full circle. And that's why, this 10,000 letters, is so important, because number one, it gets people back to writing letters. You have to take a little bit of time out of your day, to sit down and write. And if you haven't written a letter before, we're learning about how to write a letter, what the greeting is, what goes into the body, what goes into the closing, how to, like you said, how to address an envelope, how to put a stamp on. So there's a part of education in learning how to write a letter, your emotions, putting your feelings down on paper. That's something that makes us human, and people are using, Chat GPT, hey, write me a letter and all this stuff. No, you have the power to do that. You have the power to use your brain and to use your heart to put your words on paper. And I think people don't understand that, is that they do have the ability to do it. Like, you have the ability to do it. And so that's what's important about this 10,000 letters. And it ultimately is going to help these women's stories be cemented in the United States Postal Service, which is a place that, they gave service to during the World War II.
For anybody watching the podcast in the future or whenever, how could they take part in this project?
Yeah, so I have it right now. It's housed on my Instagram. You can find the project at I am Tabari on my Instagram. I am working on because I am doing an educator guide, and the 10,000 letter activity will be in the educator guide. Excuse me, y'all got to give me a couple weeks. I've been a little busy. But the educator guide will be available on my website, www.tonyaabari.com. I would say I'm going to be ambitious and say that the educator guide will be ready before 2026. So that's an ambitious goal, considering all the other things that I have going on right now. But check back for that right before the new year, and right in time, of course, going into Black History Month, which, for us,
Yeah,
Black History
yeah,
365,
yeah.
but going into Black History Month and Women's History Month, the educator guide and the letter writing activation will be ready for everyone to participate in.
Okay, so whenever you do put that up, I'm definitely on my platform, be sharing it out, sharing it, tagging it, clicking it. I'll do my part, and I want to write a letter as well toward that project. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you. I just want to give you your flowers, and you got great people on your podcast. I've been listening and watching and following, and
Hey
I just
man,
appreciate you amplifying our voices and having conversations, insightful conversations with us, from storyteller to storyteller, and seeing how storytelling is evolving through these conversations of craft. And because we need to be asked questions. Black authors need to be asked questions about craft, and research. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the work that you are doing in the writing and authoring community, and also yourself as a writer. Like, I appreciate all of your work, and you gotta, keep this going.
man. Again, you said about getting that postcard earlier today. How you want to stop sometimes, you want to quit sometimes. The adversity. I almost quit doing this 3 years ago. I remember the
Mm,
exact live I did when I was like, you know what? It's been a good run. I appreciate y'all. It's kind of like the end of Fresh Prince, right? Where it's like, all right, cut the light off. Like, I remember that moment, man. But something about it, my heart just so into it, I just can't stop doing it. It's just, I just can't stop doing it. So yeah, we gonna be here as long as I
so
can. We gonna be here.
how do you feel like, 3 years later coming back into it? Like, what's and right
Yeah.
now in our moment in history, 3 years at this point, like where we are today, like how do you feel about the work that you're doing and moving forward
Man,
with the
I am so glad I didn't quit. I am so blessed that God put something back into my heart. And what you just did is a good example. Like people DMing me in private. Whenever I did that, I never knew how many people actually watch the show, how many people look forward to it. I just thought like, whatever. And then when I did that, people was hitting me up like almost crying, like, man, when you leaving? Like, what you talking about? Like, I didn't realize the impact. I had to reevaluate myself, like, okay, I know what's important. I know what we're doing. And so I got back on the horse, man. But as far as like what's going on this time right now is needed. Because so many books I covered this year in today's climate, these books was written before what's going on. And it's so timely, these subject matters and topics, they're happening right now.
Yes.
Right now, they're so culturally relevant. And these are the blueprints to what's going on right now. So I'm glad to amplify the voices and give the authors the proper respect that you all deserve for your work, research, effort, blood, sweat, tears. So many guests came on here. It took me 10 years to write this book. It took me 15 years to write this one book. I'm like, you need some time.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate you.
I have
Big
my last two rounding out questions before we get you out of here, right?
all right.
Your next project is about Juneteenth, correct? I saw a pre-order for Juneteenth.
Oh, yeah, that's a picture book that is that's not my next one that's coming out, but
Okay,
they did cover reveal today. So I do have a picture book with Quarto UK,
okay.
18th picture book, and that's 2026. And then I also have a Santa Like Me, and that is a picture book, holiday picture book that's coming out in 2026,
Okay.
October 2026.
Yeah.
And then my adult books, I have game schooling for for dummies. I'm a homeschooling parent, and we play games all day.
I
So
love it.
it's a
Love
how
it.
to, for parents to work with their young ones playing games and how to get learning, do games with learning fun. And
Yeah.
so, and also my YA adult crossover that I am working on for Penguin. This is the book of my heart. It is entitled The Shape of Water, and it is about the connections, the deep connections that Black Americans have with water. And
Yes. Yes.
uh, it is coming out in 2027.
Okay.
So I, whew, that one, that book, I'm so passionate about, because that book is a book of exploration also, and I've been able to like interview like black oyster farmers and folks who work with shark. Like I would have never thought that I would have been, writing this. And my daughter again is the catalyst because she's 11 years old and training to become a scuba diver. And so
Oh my God, you serious?
yes, yes, she's in
Okay.
a program here, and she
See,
is training to become a scuba diver.
now you got me. Now you got me. Tell me you saw that Discovery Channel thing they did with the I think it was like 6 or 8 black women scuba divers. You saw that? And they're trying to find a slave ship?
Yes, and you
Oh
know
my
what?
God.
That's the founder of the founder of Diving with Purpose is actually the who runs the organization that my daughter is in. So she's in his organization here in Tennessee. It's called Tennessee Aquatic Project, and it is connected with Youth Diving with Purpose.
Man,
And
that's
so
crazy.
these are young folks between 8 and 17, and they're all swimming and putting on scuba gear and open water scuba diving, and it's just been amazing to see. So it is, really been the catalyst for me, like learning about, because I'm just now at this age like learning how to swim. So
See what I'm
um
saying? See what I'm saying?
yes, and I've been scared when you told me about the your swimming and 40 times. I understand because I've been scared of water my whole life, but I've also been like deeply connected to it and not
Yeah.
understanding why. But now, working on that book, digging into the history about, why we are so, deeply connected, has been
That's
just a
amazing.
thing.
Well, I tell you right now, my sister, I love being a beta reader. I beta read for a lot of people. So you ever need a beta? Like Sean, check this out right quick. I love to be a beta. I love doing the archive. I love doing all of that. So if you need somebody, let me know.
I got you. I
And
got you.
again, as your books are coming out, you want to come back to the show for promo. I love returning guests. Come back as much as you want. You got a platform right here.
Absolutely. You ain't got to tell me twice. Look,
Hey,
I'm gonna
hey,
hold you to it.
I'm gonna say, come on, sis. I see that book cover. Come on now. The last important question, most important question. I love asking my recent guests, how do you read? How do you read?
How do I read?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because you cut off a little bit. I didn't get the
Oh,
part,
I'm
but
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. I love asking my guests, how do you go about the craft of reading? You mentioned earlier about going to the rabbit holes and you're a deep diver. So what does reading look like for you?
I'm a person that, breaks down. I'm a deep and close reader myself. I talked about close reading, breaking down books. Like you will see notes in the margins, post-it notes, pages flipped, turned upside down.
That's
I
me. That's me.
that's it.
That's me.
Listen, I love me
Annotation.
a good
Annotation.
tall book. Yes. And I want you people be like, oh, I don't want to write in a book. You better write in that book. You better highlight. You better underline.
Yes.
So for me, I always read with trying to find the through lines to my own life. So any text that I'm reading, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, which I need to start reading more fiction because I'll be honest, I've been in my nonfiction bag for a while, and I'm like, okay, I would like to get into reading more fiction, but whatever book I'm reading, I'm trying to figure out the connection to me, and I can always find it. I can find it in any book that I read, and as a former English teacher, that's what I used to tell my students all the time. Like, whatever you pick up, any words on the page, you can find yourself in those words. You can find yourself in that story. So you just have to look for it, and you have to be open to finding who you are in that story. And so just going into the reading, being open to see how I fit, how it connects to my life, and how I can, therefore share that story with other people and make them feel good about what they're reading is how I like to read.
Man, thank you very, very much for being the guest. Thanks for your time. As you round out your virtual tour, man, thanks for including me on the tour. I'm appreciative, the audience, y'all chiming in. Anybody watching in the future, man, thank you for your time, my sister.
Thank you for having me. And yes, I'm coming on back. So I look forward to seeing you too when I come back. But thank you so
Okay.
much for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Okay, have a good evening, my sister. Y'all be blessed
Okay.
out there.
You too. Do I just sign out?